Great insight on this, and she'll even describe what money dysmorphia is. I'm sure you're wondering that. She also speaks a lot about creating the kind of bringing the gap together between younger generation and older generation, how we can come and commune and use expertise of the older generation, use those resources, and bring the creativity to life through the younger generations. Thank you so much, Ali, for being here. I'm excited about this talk so much. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you. So, money dysmorphia. Hi, everybody. How many of you have some idea what I'm talking about when I say money dysmorphia? Not very many of you. Okay, so I'll tell you my own experience with discovering it, and then you can look and see if you see it within yourself. And I only have 15 minutes right now, so we won't be able to get into everything today. But if it stirs something up in you, I want to invite you to come talk to me about it, either here or find me in the world after we're here, because to me, discovering the source and the root of our money dysmorphia is a huge part that we can play in creating the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. So I discovered this disease, and I do see it as a disease in myself, when I recognized that every decision that I was making in my life was based on money. How many of you have that awareness? Okay, so a lot of you are already acknowledging that. A lot of times I come into these communities and I hear people say, oh, money doesn't matter to me, I'm not in it for the money. And yet, in the back of our brains, sometimes very deeply buried, is this constant question around money. If I do this thing, will it bring me money? If I go to this event, will it bring me money? If I take this path, will it bring me money? And having that drive our decision making is causing us to make choices that are not fully in alignment with the world that we want to create. And so I discovered this in myself. And when I had this disease driving me, I did not know who I really was. I couldn't possibly know who I really was because that was the decider for just about everything that I did. And in order to cure this, what I did is I took 1 year away from any decisions around money. And I got myself to a place where I was able to, for 1 year, know that all of my needs were met, even if I only did work that I would do for free. How many of you have already gone down that path? Okay, so a few of you. And in that, did you discover something about yourself and what it is that you really want and who it is that you really are? Yeah. And so if we can do that, if we can get ourselves to a place where we know that our needs are met and we start making decisions not from the place of money, but from the place of knowing my needs are truly met. All my needs are met. And that was my mantra, by the way, for this year. Anytime that fear would come up around running out or not enough. And some of these are very deeply ingrained. I come from a Judaism background. I'm Jewish. Our history is one of scarcity, deep patterns of scarcity. In my consciousness, I would carry this fear that maybe one day I'm going to be a bag lady. How many of you women have that? Anybody? Okay, well, my daughter has that one because it comes through us, through our ancestors, depending on what we've inherited. And even though it wasn't true, I had that belief even after I had already built million-dollar businesses. And yet still there was this part of me that was terrified that somehow it would all go away and I would end up a bag lady. Now, where could that have possibly come from? It could only have come through me, inherited. And the way that I look at it is that it is our opportunity, is our gift, that we were born to this time, during this time, to clear out all of that past conditioning that we've inherited. In order to do that, we have to know what it is that we've inherited. We have to bring it up from the depths, from the deep conditioning, from the shadow, from not being able to see it, into consciousness where we can see it so that we can heal it. So what exactly is money dysmorphia? It is the distorted view that we have around our financial reality that causes us to make poor decisions around how we use our non-renewable resources of time, energy, and attention. So time, energy, and attention are non-renewable. Once we've used our time, our energy, our attention, it's gone. We can't get that back. Money is actually infinite. It's a made-up construct. It's an agreement that we've come into with each other and with life. And it's actually infinite and fully available to you when you know how to access it. Most of us have not been taught how to access it properly. And so we have one of two frames on it. Either we are accessing it in so much excess and then hoarding it, or we've come into a relationship with it where we're constantly in this place of just getting by because we reject it. So we have those two extremes, those two polarities. Either I have to have more, and hoard it, keep it all for myself so that nobody else can have it because I'm going to run out. Or I'm going to reject that and I'm just going to just get by. I'm never going to have enough. And I'm going to be able to live on a shoestring. And neither one of those is actually the truth. The truth in the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible is that everybody can have exactly what they need. Everybody can have enough. Not just of money. Money is just a representation. Everybody can have enough food, water, shelter, love, everything that they need to be healthy. But we can't have that if we're living in these two polarities of either the more, hoarding, keeping it all for myself, or even in the rejection of it and the just getting by. And so what is more true than that? What is more true than that is knowing what you actually need. Knowing what you actually need. And in our culture, we have a funny relationship with need. How many of you don't like to feel needy? Yeah. None of us. We don't like to feel needy. So we push away this idea that we have any needs. No, I'm good. I'm independent. I don't have any needs. But the truth is you do. You individually each have very specific needs for your human being on this planet at this time to be healthy. And accepting that is really a form of accepting our humanity. That's been a really challenging one for me, a challenging one to accept. I'm a needy human being. I need certain things, certain amounts of love, certain kinds of food, certain amounts of sleep in order to be healthy, in order to really bring my highest and best gifts to the world. But what's happened when I've come into the truth of what I actually need is that then I can step into that clearly, declaring it to life itself, and it shows up. And if I'm lying to myself about it, guess what? I'm not having my needs met. And I'm constantly wondering, why don't I have my needs met? Why do I feel like I'm going to run out? Why do I feel like I have to constantly have more? It's an unhealthy relationship. And so my invitation to you is to get into full alignment and truth with your human being and what you need in order to be your highest and best self. When I was in my pattern of money dysmorphia running my life, and I was in this constant quest for more, the way that I needed to get into alignment with what I actually needed was to let it all go. You don't have to do that unless you get really out of balance. So I had to let it all go, walk away from all of it for a period of time, and go down to what I discovered is my minimum to be happy. Minimum to be happy, not just getting by, not scarcity of I'm always on a shoestring, but actual minimum to be happy. Knowing what your minimum to be happy is critical. So that if everything was taken away from you, what is it that you would need to thrive, to be happy? Now, this is like the bare essentials. of your human being's needs. I'm a mom, I have 2 kids, I was supporting an ex-husband, but I had a farm that I could live on during this time that I did this. So for me, with a family, I discovered that that was $5,000 a month. That was my minimum to be happy. Okay? Knowing that, and knowing that I could generate that by only doing work that I would do for free, allowed my system to completely relax out of that quest for more, so I could discover who I really was in that process. Now, you might be having some thoughts about those numbers I threw out right now. You might be saying, wow, $5,000 a month, that's a lot of money. And that's why it's particular to you, right? So for you, it might be $1,000 a month. It might be $500 a month, right? For somebody else, it might be $10,000 a month. It's not for you to judge what it is for somebody else. It's to know what it actually is for yourself. As a mother of 2 children, supporting an ex-husband, a whole family, living in the U.S., $5,000 a month, that's pretty bare bones if you're going to be eating organic food, which is, for example, like I know that for me to thrive, I have to be eating great food. Very critical for me. So knowing what you need and then perhaps going down to that place is really critical. Now, the other thing that I did during that time is I had already created enough value in the world at that point that I could bring in $5,000 a month without having to work. Because I was already living off the residual of the work I had already done. That's not possible for everyone, right? At every time. Eventually, you could work up to that yourself if you were to create various things that you're offering into the world, a business infrastructure that is able to support that. That all takes time. So you have to also meet yourself where you are. So once I went down to that minimum to be happy level, I realized that my minimum to be happy doesn't actually allow me to be of greatest service in the world. It doesn't allow me to be of greatest service in the world. Why is that? Well, at my minimum to be happy level, I couldn't afford to create an economy of support. An economy of support is, for example, at my minimum to be happy level, I was driving my kids to school every day. I was doing all of the laundry. I was doing all the grocery shopping. I was doing all of the cooking. These are things that I can do, but is that really the highest and best use of me? This being, with the skills I have, with the talents I have, with the gifts I have, is that the highest and best use of me? It's not. The highest and best use of me is to be teaching in the world, is to be creating various new business models and new structures and new ways that I can share that and broadcasting. So that was my next level. Once I got down to my minimum to be happy, it was, what's the next level? Minimum to be of service. Minimum to be of highest service. So now I begin to add in more things. Oh, okay, I need to be able to have an assistant. I need to be able to have somebody to help me with the house. I need to be able to have somebody to help me with the kids. All of these things require more money. But now I'm not seeking more money from a place of hoarding. I'm actually seeking to then bring in more money so that I can allow it to flow through me and give it back to the ecosystem. So now I'm able to hire people. And in the past, when I was in that hoarding mentality, that more money dysmorphic mentality, when I was hiring people, I was always looking at how can I hire people for the littlest amount possible and extract as much from them as possible. We know that this is a broken worldview. And yet, it's what's taught in business. How can I get labor as cheap as possible and extract as much as possible? That is broken. That is part of what is creating the world that we do not want to live in. It comes from a place of money dysmorphia. From a place of true alignment, what is the support that I need to be able to be in highest service? What I wanted to look at is how can I bring in as much as possible, not to keep it for myself, but to be able to pay as much as possible to the people who are supporting me. We have a commitment to a living wage in my company. We do not pay less than $25 an hour. The person who's answering the customer support emails, $25 an hour minimum, because to me, that is a minimal living wage. And so when we clear our money dysmorphia and the people who are running the companies can take just what they need in order to be in highest service, then they can give back as much as possible. And they can institute policies like that. And so as I started rehiring people from this new foundation of truth and alignment and what do I need to be of highest service, I'm looking at how can I pay as much as possible to support the freedom of every single person who is working with me in any way to also have their needs met so that they can be in their highest and best self. And so when we collectively cure our money dysmorphia and know what we need, how to communicate what we need, how to ask for what we need in exchange for what we have to give, every single one of us, then we can begin to create the world, the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. I hope what I shared today touched something in you. I hope that what I shared today created a commitment in you to cure your own version of money dysmorphia, whatever that looks like, whether it's excess and hoarding or a commitment to just get by and not really actually have enough to be in highest service, so that we can all come together and collectively create the world that we want to live in. Thank you.